Hey everybody, Fifth Leaf here, bringing you a special episode of the VBA Draft League series. Above me, you see a bracket. This bracket is the top 8 players who worked their ass off, pushed their teams as hard as they could, and made damn sure that they were going to make it to playoffs. And I can tell you personally, since I've matched up against most of these people, that I am not surprised to see them here. We have the Sussex Sableyes at 10-0, the Beantown Binacles at 8-2, H-Town Houndooms at 7-3, Portugal Pokeballs also at 7-3, Pittsburgh Steel Types at 6-4, the Westside Weezings, the Worcester Stunfisks, and the Corpus Christi Crabbies all at 5-5. There were lots of tiebreakers this season, and the last round, week 10, made a lot of differences in what we were going to see in this playoffs. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about the Sussex Sableyes versus the Corpus Christi Crabbies. On screen right now, we have the two teams in their matchup. We have Barbarical, Lurantis, Miltank, Mimikyu, Ninetales, Rotom Heat, Togedemaru, Tornadus Incarnate, Turtonator, Venusaur Gmax, and Wishcash, all on the Sussex Sableyes team. On the Corpus Christi Krabby side, we have Chandelure, Comfey, Dragonite, Guzzlord, Jolteon, Kingler, Mawile, the Alolan version of Ninetales, Rillaboom Gmax, Sandslash Alolan form, and Swoobat. I'm really excited to see this match. I know both of these players have recorded matches, and they're both very good at recording matches. I love the way that they both present each match. They have a lot of fun. And looking at these two teams, I feel like it's going to be a close one. I think both teams have some good synergy. For example, on the Sussex Sableyes, we have the Ninetales and the Venusaur with the chlorophyll. We have Ninetales and the Rotom Heat and the Venusaur. The Whiscash and the Tornadus Incarnate, as well as the Togedemaru, all kind of have similar synergies. And there's a lot of options and a lot of different modes that this team runs, right? So it just makes it all that much more scary. He's also got a pretty fast team as well. Now, the Corpus Christi Crabbies has some good synergy as well. I've seen a lot of times Dragonites with weakness policies getting hit by ice shards. We've got Fake Out on Rillaboom. We've got Taunt on Rillaboom. We can set a lot of different weather here with Dragonite, Ninetales, to kind of counteract drought, which can be very helpful. Weather Wars might be very prominent in this match. I would love to see it be prominent in this match because Weather Wars matches require a lot of thinking, and I'm really excited to see these teams push even harder than they've pushed all season. Now, in terms of weaknesses, the Sableyes have a little less weaknesses than the Corpus Christi Crabbies. For example, they're neutral to a lot, and they only really have 2 weaknesses. Their weaknesses are ground and rock. Whereas on the Corpus Christi Crabby side, their weaknesses are ghost, rock, and ground. Now, the reason why I want to mention this is because the Sussex Sableyes have a lot of different options to have any of these, right? We have the Mimikyu here, the Venusaur Gmaxes, Wishcash. There's just a lot of different weaknesses that he's going to have covered here that are also big threats, especially the Venusaur Gmax, because if Sun is up, his speed is insane. There's not much in the current meta that can actually outspeed this Venusaur. It exists, it's possible, but there's not much. Now, in terms of options, what I see here is the Corpus Christi Crabbies have a lot of priority moves, as well as the Sussex Sableyes. Now, and what their priority moves are is Sussex Sableyes have Fake Out, Quick Attack, and Shadow Sneak, and pretty much anything that he may run on Tornadus. Anything that's not a damaging attack will have priority, which can get very scary. Now, priority on the Crabbies team, we have Aqua Jet, Extreme Speed. Having 2 priority moves on 1 mon is a lot of the time very good. Although I don't like the Extreme Speed turning into Max Strike. Doesn't seem too viable. We have Fake Out on Rillaboom, which is very important. The Ice Shards, which can have great synergy with the Dragonite. If the Dragonite has weakness policy, you just hit it with a quick Ice Shard. Probably better done from the Ninetales. Maybe breed a Ninetales with 0 attack. Now, Jolteon having quick attack isn't too scary, although it could help in a lot of scenarios. Sucker Punch on Mawile is important, and having Triage on Comfy is also important. So I feel like in terms of priority moves, it definitely goes to the Krabbies, and this may be the only way that they can outspeed the Venusaur. Now, the only real problem with that is that a lot of these moves the Venusaur resists, except for the Ice Shards. So Ice Shard doesn't do much damage, so he's gonna have to figure out what he wants to do with these, and he has to kind of think really hard about how he's gonna take on that Venusaur, because Venusaur's coming this week. Now, I would call Ruby kind of silly if he didn't bring Venusaur this week, because Venusaur does hurt a lot of the Corpus Christi Krabbies Pokemon. Now, this is a very close match in my opinion. The other thing that I kind of want to point out is the taunt users and the damage reducers. Ruby has 4 Pokemon that have taunt, and the Christi Krabbies have a lot of Pokemon that have taunt. Taunt's going to be important if Ruby decides to bring Sunny Day, which I don't think he will. I think he's just going to focus on switching in the Ninetales when needed. But also, this does work really well against the Tornadus. Tornadus will get his move off first because of Prankster, but should still fall for the taunt after. So the future turns after that, he'll have to use damaging moves only. So if the Tornadus decides to bring, it depends on what mode he really wants to run Tornadus with when he brings him in this match, whether he wants to run him more of an attacker or more of a support. But taunt could be very important, and I would at least bring some kind of taunt support. I wouldn't leave taunt home. I think he needs to bring taunt here. Now, the other big thing is screens. Both teams have a lot of options for screens, and I mean a lot of options for screens. Now, I think it's going to be necessary. I think screenplay is going to be necessary for whoever wins this match. More so on the Krabby side, because the speed on the Sableye team isn't outclassed, and I feel like screens, whether it's Reflect or Light Screen or Aurora Veil, whatever it is, it needs to be up. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I didn't make the playoffs, so I'm just giving my personal and not yet professional opinion. But for this team, I think what we're gonna do is, for this one, I think we're gonna swing for the Sableyes. I think the Sableyes are going to win. I don't think it's going to be by a lot. I think if it's a 2-0, it's going to be very close, but I feel like there is a pretty good chance of it turning into a 2-1. But if it, like I said, if it does turn into a 2-0, if Ruby does take this without losing, it'll be very close games, and I'm very excited to watch it. Now, let's talk about our next matchup, which is the Pittsburgh Steel types versus the Portugal Pokeballs. I did not have the luck of getting matched up against the Pittsburgh Steel types. I really wanted to play their team. Their team was really good. I did, however, play against Pokeballs pretty early on. So on screen, you see their team. We have Pittsburgh Steel types with the Cobalion, the Drifblim, the Flareon, the Marowak, the Galar Mr. Mime, Pangoro, Alolan Persian, Snorlax, Gmax, Feeny, Weezing, and Zapdos. On the Pokeball side, we have Azumarill, Charizard, Crustle, Espeon, Incineroar, Morgan, Rotom Frost, Stakataka, Togetic, the Gmax, Single Strike, Urshifu, and Vileplume. Now, the thing about this match, right, and the thing I want to talk about is this is a rematch literally a week after the original match. So this was a week 10 matchup that they had, and the games were incredible. I had to watch the game before doing this video again because it was just a really fun game to watch, and I wanted to make sure I had some notes written down. So last week it was a best of 3, and the Steel types lost in 3. So if I remember correctly, I think, yeah, no, the Steel types won game 1, and then the Pokeballs had a reverse comeback from game 2 and 3. Now, games 2 and 3 were so fucking close. I think the real turning point, and I think the real thing to point out here is, I feel like the steel types had a tough time adjusting to Urshifu. I think that was the main thing. And I don't remember what move it was, but there was a move used at the close to the end of game 2 that missed. Now, I don't think that miss necessarily would have won Rhett the game. However, I do think it swung the game more in the Pokeball's favor. I feel like the Pokeballs would have had to play a lot harder if that move connected. And it moved to a game 3, which is also very close. Game 3, he brought Trick Room and was able to get Trick Room set up, and it just seemed like with the Pokemon that Rhett brought, there wasn't a lot of options of adjustment, you know? So it's going to be awesome to see how Rhett adjusts his team to build for the upcoming rematch. Now, looking at his team here, I think he does have a lot of strengths against the Pokeballs. Like Cobalion with the beat up synergy with Persian Alola. I love it. Zapdos and Feeny have a lot of synergy as well. Persian kind of just synergizes with everybody. He has Qualsh, kind of has everything. Now, Drifblim I haven't seen in action too much. Cobalion's just a threat. Like, Cobalion is just a threat, and you can't build against this team and not prep for Cobalion. Portugal Pokeballs also have a lot of synergies. We have the Azumarill Crustle if he wants to run that weakness policy, which would be gross. Incineroar, which Incineroar Dynamaxed last week, and that caught me off guard. I wasn't ready for it. You should have seen how my face exploded. I've never seen an, as long as Sword and Shield's been out, I've never seen an Incineroar Dynamax, and he did it last week multiple times. Morgan's really good with his abilities. Stakataka's pretty bulky and gets Trick Room. Togetic gets Follow Me, and Urshifu is just a threat, just like Cobalion. Urshifu is just a threat. Now, the only thing that kind of offsets Cobalion's threat is that Urshifu is kind of a direct counter to Cobalion, so I want to see how that plays out, and I really want to see what kind of team Rhett brings for this week, especially since the match is still fresh in mind, right? It just happened last week, so I'm really excited to see what happens there. Now let's go right into options, and we can skip hazards again. We can kind of skip all this too. We do want to talk about priority, because priority helped Rhett a lot last week, especially in his game 1. He brought Bullet Punch on Pangoro, and having Fake Out on Persian Alola is really awesome. He has Ice Shard on Galar. No one's going to be running Quick Attack and Sucker Punch. Very helpful priority moves that I don't think should be overlooked. I think the Portugal Pokeballs are definitely going to need to prep around these attacks. Now, Azumarill has Aqua Jet, Incineroar has Fake Out, Morgum has Fake Out. Morgum just gets Prankster. Again, no one's going to use Quick Attack. Sucker Punch on both these two Pokemon. Sucker Punch on Urshifu is disgusting. Especially as he gets Stab on Sucker Punch. Don't even talk to me about it. I actually am shocked that he doesn't G-Max Urshifu as much as you would think he does. So I'm really excited to see what happens here. I don't think we can talk about any of these, although knockoff can be helpful. A lot of Incineroars actually run knockoff as like a regular standard VGC setup. So if he can get the knockoff on like if say he brings Zapdos with Life Orb, right, and he gets knockoff on that, that's going to be really helpful. Now, last thing, same thing as the last match, we can talk about our taunt users and damage reducers. Both teams have a decent amount of taunters. Incineroar, who runs taunt normally in VGC, Morgan, who gets taunt, who does also use it normally. You don't really see it on the Urshifu G-Max, so I don't think he has to worry about that, but I do think he has to prep for at least 2 Pokemon bringing taunt. 1 of 2 Pokemon, I should say. Same vice versa. I think this team should definitely prep against all these boys getting taunt. because it's just going to make life so much easier for either team. Screens are very important. Portugal's have a lot of screen support, and I mean a lot, to the point where this Pittsburgh Steel Tights might not be able to even really prep on who may or may not bring screens, because Azumarill is a good screen target since he's pretty bulky. Espeon's a really good support Pokemon. Morgam's a really good support Pokemon. He probably won't bring it on Rotom. He may bring it on Stack, but I highly doubt it. Togetic usually runs some sort of screens. Charizard won't run it. Espeon might run Reflect. Morgam runs Reflect. Rotom won't run it. You get the point here. I actually don't know if he brings Vileplume. Is there really a need to bring Vileplume? The answer to that is no. Although there's some shenanigans you can pull with Vileplume, so I wouldn't check Vileplume out. So there's a lot of good synergies on both teams. I just think that this is going to be another close match. And when I say that all of these matches, when deciding who was going to win each of them, none of them were like guaranteed 2-0s. None of them were easy to decide. They were all really difficult. And the Pittsburgh Steel Types and the Portugal Pokeballs were probably the second hardest to decide out of all of these matches. However, I do believe that just because of the way that this team, not only does it synergize a little better, but I think in terms of just outright power, I think this match is a guaranteed 2-1. I don't think this is a 2-0 at all. I don't think this is a 2-0. I think this is going to be a guaranteed 2-1. Now let's talk about our next match. H-Town Houndooms versus the West Side Weezings. Very good teams. I can't wait to see how it plays out. On screen right now, you see the teams and their matchup. We have Acelgor, Bronzong, Colossal Gmax, Fletchinder, Kangaskhan, Liepard, Mamoswine, Maractus, Sneasel, Tapu Lele, Urshifu, Rapid Strike on the Houndooms. For the Weezings, we have Blastoise, Gmax, Cinderace, Clefable, Kaani, Darmanitan, Lucario, Musharna, Noivern, Shuckle, Spiritomb, and Toxapex. Now, both of these teams are fucking terrifying. And when I say terrifying, when I say terrifying, sorry, you get the point. Both of these teams are very difficult matchups for each other. I don't think this is a 2-0 by any means. I think this is going to be 2-1 in one of their favors. Now, when we're talking about synergies, that seems to be the common subject of all of these. We have a lot of synergies with this big boy right here, and that's very important, because he gets the Steam Engine Weakness Policy combo that we saw on Wolfie's Players Cup 3 win, and many other teams in ladder. I'm sure you guys play ladder. This is a big threat. This is a big threat against anything. I brought this in my PC3 run. The Fletchinder is really good for tailwinds. It's really fast. It's one of those, I believe it was a tier 4 pick, one of those tier 4s that, you know, mattered and that actually did something, whereas a lot of tier 4 picks were just dead draws. Now, with the Colossal, we have the Acelgor with Water Shuriken. We have Sneasel with Surf. And we have the Urshifu Rapid Strike that all synergize well with hitting this Colossal to get both its Steam Engine off, as well as its Weakness Policy off. So it's going to get +6 speed and +2 special attack as soon as it gets hit. And he's also really bulky. I don't know what set he normally brings, but you can make Colossal pretty fucking bulky to not die to pretty much anything and still make it a speed demon. Once that +6 goes off, I don't think any Pokemon here actually outspeed Colossal, so that's a giant threat. Now, in terms of synergy here, we have some Prankster users. I think he has the what is it, Justified? I think get the Justified combo off here too. But there's some decent synergy on this side as well. The big one, in my opinion, being the Cinderace. Cinderace with Libero. It is one of the grossest Pokemon. The fact that it's not used more in VGC kind of bothers me. I actually don't really like Cinderace as a Pokemon, but I do, and it's literally just Greninja 2.0, right? So, or Gen 8 Greninja. So yeah, let's talk about what the teams kind of have, right? So we'll talk about priority first. There are a lot of priority moves on the H-Town Houndoom side, and I mean a lot. We got Aqua Jets, Fake Outs, Feints, Ice Shards, Prankster on Liepard, a bunch of quick attacks, which I don't think matter, and a bunch of Sucker Punches, as well as Water Shuriken. Water Shuriken being a priority move is important to know about. It is important to know about. I'll say it one more time. It's important to fucking know about. Because this is going to hit that Colossal, and he's going to get Big Boy really quick. So you need to prep for this. Same with the Aqua Jet. And Fake Out's going to confirm that a lot of things go off in his way. Now, in terms of priority, on this side, we have Aqua Jet, Bullet Punch, Extreme Speed, Fake Out, 2 Feints, Prankster, Quick Attacks, which I don't think matter, Shadow Sneak, Sucker Punches, Vacuum Waves. Also, very important, because I feel like a lot of these, except for Quick Attack, none of them are useless. Cottony is a major threat. It doesn't look like it, but Cottony is a big threat. It dies the Colossal pretty easily, but it'll make sure it gets what it needs to get off first. Now, momentum gainers, we don't really care about Baton Pass. It's not used too much in doubles, but we have all these U-turns, especially done by fast Pokemon. There's not a lot that's going to outspeed a Selgor. He's got a massive speed stat. Baton Pass here doesn't matter. Flip turn, teleport, U-turns matter. Noivern's pretty quick. Cinderace is really fast, so these U-turns are actually viable. Knockoff, I think, is going to be important. If you can knock off the Colossal's weakness policy, then you're setting yourself up for a really good scenario here. Because if he doesn't get that +2 special attack, it doesn't really matter if he's faster. He's still going to do a lot of damage, but I feel like the physical bulk on your team can survive neutral attacks from Colossal, especially if you choose your Dynamax target correctly. Taunts, important, although not as important as the matches in previous games, because a lot of the threats here are using their priority attacks rather than non-damaging attacks. So although it will help when it comes to him having Prankster and, you know, wanting to make sure that his opponent doesn't set up screens, that's going to be pretty good. So, but same thing on his side too, right? Because he also has Prankster Taunt. So who has the best taunt users? I can't guarantee. They both have really strong taunt lists, but in terms of screens, what do we got? So we have Bronzong, who would run screens. Mamoswine's not running screens. Lele might. Colossal's not. Mamoswine's not. So he has a decent amount of Pokemon that get screens, but probably won't run them. Whereas most of the Pokemon on this side, except for maybe Blastoise, want to run screens. So I think both teams need to prep for screens, but I think that the Houndooms need to prep a little more for screens, especially if the Weezings can, let's say they get the knockoff off with the weakness policy and then set up light screen, that Colossal's not doing any damage. So this is another game that I think is a 2-0, but I also think that I'm gonna make a decision here, and I don't know if I'm gonna be comfortable with my decision, because I feel like both teams have a lot of really cool ways at countering each other. But even if he brings Blastoise, I feel like Maractus is going to be a great counter to that. There's a lot of cool things Maractus does. Maractus is the fucking devil. I don't care what anyone says. Maractus is the fucking devil, and I hate it. And that's my take on Maractus. I think he needs Cinderace. I think he needs Cottony. For sure. I think he should even bring his Blastoise G-Max. I feel like that might be the only true way to one-shot this Colossal. But I just think the Colossal weakness policy steam engine setup is way too true most of the time. So I think it's definitely going to be a 2-in-1, right? I just think, and here I'm going to tell you why I chose who I chose, right? Because they both have really good synergies on their team. They both have cool modes, and they both have ways of countering each other. But I think the synergies on the H-Town Houndoom side are just a little more consistent. And for that reason alone, we're going to give this one to the H-Town Houndooms. Now, I don't even want to talk about this match. I'm not going to lie. Because this was the hardest one to decide out of all of them. And this is the match between the Worcester Stunfisks and the Beantown Binacles. On screen, you see their teams. We have Buzzwole, Cradily, Crobat, Drizzle, Garchomp, Linoon, Galar, Magmar, Pikachu G-Max, Slowking Galar, Stunfisk Galar, Xurkitree on the Worcester Stunfisk side. On the Beantown Binacles, we have Butterfree, Haunter, Haxorus, Heatran, Inteleon G-Max, Manectric, Rotom Wash, Stoutland, Toxicroak, Serena, and Whimsicott. Terrifying teams. I'm not going to go into how terrifying they are as I did last round because I felt like I was pretty obnoxious. But I will say that these teams were meant for each other. And I spent the most time deciphering this team than I did any of the other matchups. Because we have Tailwind users. Drizzle's screen support with his bulk is... You know how I said Maractus was the devil? Drizzle is his henchman. So I feel like you draft these two Pokemon together. No, I'm kidding. They actually wouldn't really work together that well. But Drizzle and Maractus are working hand in hand to take over the government. I swear to God. Garchomp's really good. Linoon's really good. Magmar's pretty meh in this matchup. Pikachu G-Max could be kind of helpful. Slowking could be pretty helpful. Stunfisk, bro. Can I just say that I've never considered Stunfisk a competitive Pokemon in my entire life. I've been playing Pokemon competitively since X and Y, and I can strongly say that I've never thought of the Pokemon Stunfisk, regardless of what version it is, never thought of it as a competitive Pokemon. But this Stunfisk this season has been putting in some goddamn work. Fuck the Stunfisk. No, I'm kidding. Realistically though, really strong team. We have 2 Ultra Beasts. I don't know who let that happen. So shame on you. I mean, I believe I'm partly to blame since I didn't pick up one of them, but I'm playing Paris Trap. I don't need either of them. So Crobat with the Tailwind's really important, especially on Garchomp. He's going to be a speedy boy. He's going to be big time speedy boy. And I also feel like having the Tailwind is going to be very important against this team. He has a lot of really fast Pokemon, mainly the main one being Inteleon. Inteleon is a speed demon, bro. He's always getting pulled. He's getting pulled over on the Autobahn. That's how fast Inteleon is. So let's talk about it. Our options. This team only has 1 cleric each, and I know I haven't really been pointing out the clerics, but I do think it's interesting that this is the only matchup so far that we've seen that only has 1 cleric. Priority is always important, especially in teams that have speedy Pokemon. So we have the Aqua Jet, Fake Outs, Feints, Ice Shards, Mock Punches. I don't think Quick Attacks matter, and Sucker Punches. The fact that Drizzle can carry 3 priority moves is insane. I think he's only probably going to bring 2. I think it's going to be Sucker Punch, Ice Shard, and I think the other 2 slots are probably going to be used for screens. Although I think he brought the icy win last time, right? And that slowed me down in our match. But either way, lots of good priority moves. I don't think feint matters, but all the other moves definitely matter. Oh no, quick attack doesn't. Quick attacks suck. But priority moves over here, we have Inteleon with the Aqua Jet, Bullet Punch, Fake Out, First Impression, Ice Shard, Prankster on Whimsicott. Whimsicott's one of the scariest Pokemon in the world. Sucker Punch on Haunter, Sucker Punch on Inteleon, Toxicroak, Sucker Punch, and Vacuum Wave. I feel like both teams have really good priority. However, I think the priority over on this side, on the Beantown Binacles, is a little scarier. Damage reducers, light screens, and reflects on both sides. I don't know how. Obviously, damage reducers are always going to be important, but I feel like both sides has some pretty bulky Pokemon, and I feel like there's pretty equal bulk, right? I could be wrong, but looking at the team, it looks like there's some pretty equal bulk, except for like Inteleon's not really that bulky, which is weird because Drizzle feels bulky as shit. But yeah, Whimsicott's really, yeah, no, I think these teams were built for each other. This match is, I'm so glad it's happening. I can't wait to see it, as I'm sure the teams will be uploading their videos. Taunt. Who's more worried about Taunt? The Stunfisks. I think the Stunfisks need Tailwind. I think without speed control, this team really struggles against the Binacles. Yep. I think in terms of who's worried about Taunt the most, it's definitely the Stunfisks. But I feel like both teams should prep against it regardless. Especially with Butterfree over here. Butterfree? Bro, don't sleep on Butterfree. I'm gonna look at you right now. Don't fucking sleep on Butterfree. Butterfree wins games. I swear to God. Alright, so I think I made a decision. Now, and I'm still fighting myself. Yet again, this is gonna be 2-1. If this isn't a 2-1, someone didn't have their coffee that morning, because there's no way that either of these teams 2-0 the other team. Like, nada. No. Like, not gonna happen. This is gonna be a 2-1. Who do I think the 2-1 is gonna be in favor of? Please don't fucking hate me. I think this 2-1 is going to the Binacles. Not by a lot either. My main reasoning and my main hole in these teams is the fact that I feel like the Stunfisks need Tailwind up, and I feel like the Binacles just have way more answers against Tailwind specifically. Not way more answers against the Stunfisks, but I think they have more answers against Tailwind than vice versa. So for that, I'm gonna give that to this Beantown Binacles. Also, the bulk is a little more as well. Like, Rotom Wash is insane. Whimsicott's insane. Heatran's insane. So, and Haunter does some like secret slimy damage, so don't sleep on Haunter either. So our next match, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be going from the same side of the screen again. We're going to talk about the Sussex Sableyes versus the Portugal Pokeballs. So we already talked about both these teams. We don't need to really go into who has what. So we can spend a little less time on that. But what we can talk about is what answers do they have for each other. I don't know. And I don't think that running Sun is the most viable option here. It might help because you'd be getting Venusaur's speed up, but in terms of synergies with the other Pokemon, so like if Ninetales puts the Sun up, usually you have Rotom Heat you know, to get extra damage on those heat waves. You have Venusaur getting extra damage on whatever they bring, but I think right here you really only have the Venusaur getting speed, right? So I think what's important here is making sure that whatever the Pokeballs brings survives what Venusaur can dish out, right? And the Pokeballs have a lot of Pokemon that resist Venusaur in different ways. So I feel like the heat will be key into killing Rotom. I also enjoy that this is going to be Rotom versus Rotom. I don't know if they'll both bring Rotom, but I do like that the potential of it being a Rotom Ditto is kind of funny. Tornadus having Prankster is way too strong in this matchup. What else? What else? Oh, also, Venusaur, when not in its Gigantamax form, gets Solar Beam, which I don't think it'll one-shot Crustle, but I think it'll do a lot of damage to Crustle. Maybe about at least 75%. Now, I didn't run calcs or anything, so don't judge me if that's wrong. Make sure you do your own calcs if you're watching this before your match. But I don't think Ruby can focus too hard on his Venusaur here. I think he needs to bring multiple modes, and I think he really needs to spend time setting up. Now, I can't really discredit him at all, only because he is 10-0, so he obviously knows what he's doing. But I think Tornadus will be key here. I think Fake Out was going to be important here. Because on this side, I think the big threats are Morgem, Crustle, and Urshifu. Those are the three major threats. Now, if he gets Sun Up, then Urshifu and Azumarill will do less damage. So another thing to look out for is if he does want to run Azumarill, Aqua Jet into Crustle to trigger the weakness policy, I wouldn't, if I was Ruby, I wouldn't want Sun being up in that scenario, only because that will weaken Azumarill's damage to Crustle. I know it wouldn't be doing much damage anyways, but you know, just kind of a just in case sort of thing. I wouldn't want heat up in that scenario. Both teams counter each other pretty well. I just think that this is going to be one of the more difficult matches for Ruby, although this is a rematch. And the last time that they played against each other, the Sableye did win 2-0. So the reason why I don't think it's going to be a 2-0 again is because the Portugal Pokeballs already had a chance to battle the Sableye. The Portugal Pokeballs already kind of know how the Sableye like play and how their coach plays this Pokemon, right? He's gonna pick up on a lot more of his tendencies, you know what I mean? So I just worry too much about the speed dynamic here. Tornadus getting Tailwind, Venusaur having, I think, over 400 speed, right? No, 300 something. So with the speed dynamic, with the Prankster from Tornadus, with the all-around synergies are insane. Let's see what else we have. A lot more priority moves on this side. -2 for quick attack, but the Aqua Jets, the Fake Outs are important. Sucker Punches are important, especially coming from Urshifu. Actually, not as much from this Urshifu, right? Because it's not the dark one. Fake Outs here are important. Prankster's important here. So they both do have Prankster Pokemon. Mimikyu's insane. I believe in this matchup too, right? No, there's not too much that's weak to Ghost here, but Taunt users on both sides. I don't think Urshifu brings Taunt, so 2 Pokemon versus, I don't know, I would say 2 Pokemon. I don't think all 4 would bring Taunt. So yeah, this is a very difficult match for me to guess. But for a couple factors, I do think that we do have to give it to one of these boys. because of the insane amount of synergies, which I know you keep hearing me talk about, and I know you're probably like, well, synergies aren't the only thing that wins games. You're right, but the only reason I'm not saying anything about the pilot himself is because they're in top 8. I don't need to talk about how good these players are. We know they're good. We know they work their ass off. So between the synergies of these teams, I think it leans more towards the Sussex Sableyes. Not only that, but I think the speed factor, and I think just because of the overall options, like a lot of the Pokemon that the Pokeballs will need to set up might not stay alive. And that's not because of the player, that's just because of the way that the Sussex Sableyes can set up, right? Has a lot more options and a lot more modes. So you really don't know how to prepare against this. And you got to think that because he 2-0'd the Pokeballs last time, he's going to kind of... It doesn't just go one way. The Portugals aren't only going to know what the Sableyes are, you know, what their play style is. The Sableyes are going to know what the Pokeballs play style is as well. So I am going to give it to the Sableyes here. Despite how hard this match was to figure out. I think the Sableyes are winning this in 2-1. Now, let's talk about the H-Town Houndooms versus the Beantown Binacles. As always, teams on screen. Again, don't really need to go into what's on each other's teams. This is another hard match. I know I say that, but this is another difficult match. They're both speedy. I don't know if Colossal outspeeds Inteleon though at +6. It might. But it will if he gets Tailwind and that up for sure. This is hard. This is difficult. I feel like Urshifu Rapid Strike kills a decent amount of his Pokemon. Maractus is good protection against a decent amount of Beantown's Pokemon. His team is just consistent synergy. Like his whole team is just one big synergistic like powerhouse. I really don't have much against it. He also has a Trick Room mode if he wants to, because I do believe that Whimsicott will bring the Tailwind. Butterfree has great support. Rotom Wash has good damage as well as very bulky. Inteleon's really fast, so he has to the Houndooms has to outspeed Inteleon. I do think that he needs Colossal to work here, or else I feel like Heatran can become too much of a threat. But we also have Lele. So Lele's terrain is definitely going to be important. So I think the only way the Beantown Binacles win is if they can counter Lele's terrain and Colossal. And I feel like the only way Houndooms win is if they get Colossal off and have good back Pokemon, because Colossal won't live forever, as I know Binacles will probably target him down as soon as he's out. So the big thing in this battle is speed. And sorry, this is where the team lists are. I'm not purposely not looking at you. I'm just trying to think while looking at the list. So let's go into their options. I feel like that'll help sway our thought process here. We have Aqua Jet, Fake Outs, Ice Shards, Prankster, Quick Attacks, which don't matter, Sucker Punches, and Water Shuriken. And over here, pretty much the same list, except we have, instead of Water Shuriken, we have Vacuum Wave, but pretty much the same things, even down to the fact that they have Prankster. I think Prankster is more important on the Binacle side to bring. I don't know if it's as important on the Houndoom side. I think having Prankster might actually be a little too slow. I feel like this team's gonna want to press go really fast against this team. Because I don't think the Houndooms can really afford getting behind versus the Binacles. This is gonna be another 2-1. for sure. Yeah, this is definitely going to be another 2-1. But, and the reason why I keep coming back to this point of synergies is because all of these matches are so close. And I'm sorry if you came for more content other than listening to team synergy thoughts, but I feel like a lot of these matches are too close to not take synergy way too serious. Again, I don't think it matters who I think the better player is in any scenario. In any of these matches, I don't think it matters who the better player is because of the fact that they're here. The fact that they're in this situation in the first place proves that they're good players. So I think here we have to lean H-Town Houndooms. As much as I'm rooting, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I'm rooting for the Binacles here. I want to see the Binacles Rift stabilize. I want to see how those teams play against each other. And I guess the biggest thing that comes from this is the fact that the last match is going to be pretty much the rematch of the century. I didn't want to think about how this match was going to go. I'm sweating thinking about talking about it. Now, let's talk about our final match. We're going to talk about the Sussex Stabilize versus the H-Town Houndooms. Ow, ow, ow. On screen is the teams. I think this is going to be a 2-0. I said it. I said the most controversial thing this episode. I think this is going to be a 2-0. I do, sir. And ladies, I do believe this is going to be a 2-0. Why? Why do you ask? Why is this going to be a 2-0? I watched Ruby's battle against this player. And when they faced off against each other, Ruby lost the first match, or the first game. Ruby brought it back in a best 2 out of 3 and won 2-1. Now, the reason I think this is going to be a 2-0 is because watching that match, there's a big key reason why I personally, and you can disagree, there's a big key reason why I think he lost game 1. I think he outled Houndooms in game 1. Not gonna lie. I think that his move choices were really good. I think he made all the right moves. But I think the big thing here is the fact that he had like 3 turns at the beginning of the game where he missed his attacks. Like 3 turns where he just whiffed because of accuracy hacks. Now, I think that Ruby will probably bring, or will probably prep for the opportunity that might happen. And I think he's going to be very conscious of that the whole time. So I think this team right here is perfectly designed to not lose to this. And I think to win, I think he needs Colossal. I think he needs Rapid Strike and Lele all to be on their best behavior. Because even if, so say Fletchinder tailwinds and gets the Colossal G-Max off, I think that's speed calculations way too difficult for me to do right now. But I think Venusaur might still have it because Colossal's just naturally wicked slow. So thinking about it, in terms of speed, in the sun, Venusaur at 252 speed, timid nature gets 390 speed, right? With just the natural speed here at 252, it's 82. So I don't think that at +6 with Tailwind, I still don't think it matches Venusaur in the sun, especially if he decides to choice Scarf him, or even if he gets his own Tailwind up. So I feel like here, I just feel like the Houndooms, although have a very scary team, I don't think he has answers to Venusaur. I mean, he does, but I don't think he has, like, Mamoswine versus Venusaur is very big. And prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. Because I want to see I want to see a 3. I want to see a best of 3, and I want to see 3 games. Because the more content, the better. Especially with another video I'm going to be putting out that you will see. But I think, and I hate to mention, I hate to be so decisive, because it comes off as rude and it comes off as dismissive, but in no way, shape, or form is that the case. I just think in terms of just basic design, in matchup alone, like just the matchup in general, take out player skill, take out everything, and we don't even need to go into the rest. We don't need to talk about who has priority moves. We don't need to talk about what screens they have or taunts they have. I think this is going to be a slugfest. I think this match is going to be a slugfest. It's going to be close games, but I still think at the end of the day, it's going to be a 2-0. And my personal opinion, you can hate me, my personal opinion, I think Ruby T wins this. I think Ruby T wins this over the Houndooms. Main season record 10-0. I think Ruby takes it. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. If we go back to our bracket here, there's only a couple things that I think would be flip-floppy, right? I think the Pittsburgh Steel types have a great chance at beating the Pokeballs. And I think the Worcester Stunfish have a great chance at beating the Binacles. And I feel like this game could also be very flip-floppy. So those 3 things I could be wrong on. And if I'm wrong on any of those, the whole bracket changes. But my predictions, and let me know in the comments what you think. I don't care if you're biased or not. In the comments, let me know what you think. I'll even link their YouTube channels in the description so you can go watch the matches on your own before you decide. But I think your 2020 to 2021 VBA Draft League season champion is going to be none other than Ruby T of the Sussex Sableyes. Now with that, please don't hate me. I love each and every one of you. And you may not even want to agree with anything I said because I had a trash record for the second half of my season. But this is my prediction. Challenge me below. I love every one of you. This has been a great season. I can't wait till the next one. I will 100% be there. And I hope to see you guys next time. If you like the video, rate, comment, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.